Yo, 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 what's good, y'all? This is OMA, one who may ascend. Today, we are discussing the behind the lyrics to Thanos Skywalker. At the time of this recording, it is currently Wednesday, May 7th. I know I just missed the cutoff for May the 4th, for May the 4th be with you. But by the time this comes out, it'll already be late anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be discussing why the song came into existence, how the song came to existence. We're also going to do a bar by bar, line by line analysis, talk about the double entendres, the hooks, the song influences, the prospective recording of the song, because at this time, the song has still yet to be recorded. Hopefully we're expecting to record some behind the scene footage to actually give y'all a detail on site when that actually does occur. And we'll also be discussing the prospective creatives and the AMVs of the song, which also have yet to be created because the song itself hasn't been recorded yet. We'll also be discussing prospective plans for promotion as well. And maybe we'll even give you an update on the things that did and did not come to fruition. All that at a later date, all that and more the next time, no, right now. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Why the song Thanos Skywalker came into existence? Well, it all stems from what I consider I have this existential anger about life and just I'm just not satisfied with, not just what life provides for each of us, but just how we're living in general. Like, this shit is not cool for me. Respectfully, not to get on a side tangent, but I don't know how people can condone this, this type of standard of living and continue perpetuating, this ignorance and having kids in the situation that we find ourselves in. So I'm long story short, I'm dissatisfied, with what life has to offer, what our societal systems that are currently in place has to offer. I just think, us as humans, we've been around long enough to figure this shit out. We're relatively intelligent. We have advanced civilizations and technology and everything like that, and I just believe that all the intelligence and creativity that we have is just being allocated, to I don't know another word for it, honestly, non-essential bullshit, really, at the end of the day. I'm upset, big mad. I think we could be doing better, honestly. Very disappointed. And it's really that anger that fuels me and the desire for almost everything that I do. And anger can be a fuel for change in some instances, if used productively. Fuel like social justice and all kinds of shit, right? So you combine that and my love for the movie The Matrix, Plato's allegory of the cave. We're all confined in this matrix, this existential prison that we may or may not be aware of, depending on who you are. And that's in various capacities, whether that's physically, mentally, socially is a big one, financially, spiritually. But I think the one that encompasses all of these different forms is existentially. I believe that we are in an existential matrix, that this whole life, that this whole world that we currently inhabit is a simulation. I am personally of that belief. Whether you agree or not, that is totally up to you. I'm not going to challenge or argue with you. That's the perception of the reality in which that I currently think that we're in, which is also reflected of the egg theory. It's the idea that we're all pieces of the same divine entity, and we have what I'll refer to here as a universal consciousness that connects us all. and we're only separated by our unique perspectives and experiences, but in reality we're all the same divine being. So it's my intent, my divine sense of purpose is to unite that, to bridge the gap between all of our experiences, and to release us from this matrix, this prison, if you will, so that we may experience an unparalleled freedom. And so when you start thinking, you start entertaining those themes, and you just let it like simmer and brew, and you're stewing in these types of ideas. I started to ask myself, I was like, well, who do we know in pop culture, that also reflects these types of ideas? And it just so happens I'm a big fan of not just, Marvel comics in general, but obviously Marvel comics, as well as Star Wars. I've been becoming more and more of a fan of Star Wars, respectfully. I'm definitely easily a bigger fan of the comic books. I was a big nerd in high school and junior high and everything like that. But I've started to get more and more accustomed with the Star Wars fandom. And the recent guilty pleasure of mine has been kind of just binging on YouTube Shorts content, where they explain, all of these different characters and their plights, and all the backstories and everything. And I don't really have time to like watch the movies, so you'll be able to tell, from the content that is and is not in the song, what I am and am not familiar with. There's still like a lot of Marvel movies and just comic book movies in general that I have yet to see, and a lot of Star Wars movies that I haven't seen yet. But that should all be evident, within the content of the song. So I asked myself, who has a divine sense of purpose, and is willing to sacrifice, for their goals, for the sake of the balance of the universe, and the balance of and bring balance to the force. I started asking myself these questions, and I was like, just my brand name, my stage name, One Who May Ascend. I love dabbling in themes of like outer space, and thus Thanos Skywalker was born out of this existential anger that I possessed, as well as this sense of duty. So I'm gonna come back to how I actually wrote the song. It's been so long now. I think it was like September, I believe. One second, let me check. Okay, the earliest note that I have sent to myself, I sent a lot of notes to myself via email, is November 30th. I believe I had the idea a lot sooner before that, but I don't think I had started, putting everything together by then. But could be, that definitely could have been the earliest, November 30th or so, of 2024, that is. But before getting to actually how the song was written, I actually want to start with the production of the song. Hate me or love me, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it a buck, because y'all might accuse me for other things, so I'm just going to come clean where it actually matters. But I just have to be honest with you all. The beat itself was produced by AI. Not even gonna hold you, not gonna lie. Now, however, with that said, we did rearrange the stems. I took the stems and I made them longer. I doubled the beat. I screen recorded the instrumental, the beat, as it was developing. And I had been doing this for some time. You can go ahead and check. We are dabbling with production on a different YouTube channel that's called OMA Productions. You can go to that channel and see we have hella AI produced instrumentals and beats. This was all in early 2024, maybe like February or so, 2024. And what we do is, we would take the stems or just like a little snippet or whatever and screen record it or download it, and then, just upload them to the YouTube channel. And it just so happened, one of the beats that we did this with, became perfect. It was perfect for this song. However, with that said, this particular instrumental was produced, I don't know, it was like differently. Like I went to the site and all of these instrumentals were generated by the same site. I'm not going to tell y'all what site it is. If y'all know me personally, like I might divulge that information, you know, but yeah, I don't think Batman can get this information out of me, this site that I use, you know, because I don't want them to sue me. Maybe they'll find out or whatever. You know, I'm all for breaking people off and everything like that, but and I don't want y'all like ripping the software and shit. You know, I don't really care about that. You know, it's open source, open for anybody. But like I said, this particular beat was done differently. Like they were, it was like some type of experiment or free trial thing. Because once I enabled this, you know, these features or whatever to like test, I don't think I ever saw that again. And I was like, yo, honestly, like this particular beat was like the hardest thing that I've ever heard generated from not just like that particular website or program that I was using with AI, but like anything that I've ever heard. You know, it actually sounded like organic, you know, like a human made it. It didn't sound like some, you know, run-of-the-mill AI generated bullshit. You know, it sounded like real, like authentic, like. And again, you could go onto the OMA Productions page and see which beat that it was. It was it really reminded me of DMX and the beats that he would rap over. You know, it was like very thematic, authentic, gritty, grimy, and it had 808s in there. So it was like almost like anything that you could ask for. And I love the pacing of it too, and how it developed. You know, so like I said, I screen recorded this beat off of the computer because it wouldn't let me download it. I guess it was like a new piece of the software, a new addition to the software or whatever. All the other ones, other beats, I just downloaded. I just ripped them, you know. But this one, I did rearrange the stems, like I said. But like the beat, it was like it developed even as I was screen recording it, you know. So I don't know how AI does that. I don't know if it could do it again. I don't even know if it could replicate something like that again. But like I said, this is the most throwed shit, you know, I've ever heard it produce. So when I was picking beats for the song, this beat was definitely in contention. I think I narrowed it down from like all of the AI produced beats that we had, which is maybe like 60. I think I narrowed it down to like 30 of them. And I think from there like 15 and then 7, so like halving, you know, and then I think it was 3, and I was like, I just kept coming to this one. But let me go back to how the song was actually written. And you know, before we get into that, I just want to be upfront. You know, I don't want to be accused of any bullshit like that. While the beat, yes, was produced by AI, I wrote all of my own lyrics, you know, so don't even come to me with some bullshit like, oh, I didn't write this, you know, none of that. No, like I wrote all of this. There was no external, I mean, obviously the bars, the lines were influenced, you know, by the actual movies and the Star Wars and the Marvel lore and everything like that. But nobody wrote my shit for me. Like this is totally all or original, organic, no hand with AI. I'm not even gonna lie. I actually considered using AI to help me write it, but I had like so much content in it. There was like no place, like where am I gonna add another bar? And I'll even share, if I remember at the end of this, behind the lyrics, some of the lines, again, that I created originally. I'll even share some of y'all the bars that didn't make the song, and even ask y'all's opinion on what lyrics maybe I should have moved or and then there were lines that I wanted to incorporate, but I just couldn't figure out how to incorporate them. So even if I forget to cover that in the behind the lyrics, you know, maybe if y'all drop a comment and I'll share some of those with you, or we can make another video with that as well. But like I said, this is all totally original, organic, no external help or influence other than, like I said, the lore from the movies, some of the comics, and that kind of thing. So like I said, when I had this idea, and I told you all the reason why I had this idea of Thanos Skywalker, it was just kind of like an idea. And it's rare that I do that on occasion, but it's rare that I sit down and I'm like, hey, like, let me write a song about this, but it was just so organic. It just came so naturally. It was just intuition. It was very inspired. The song basically wrote itself, and I've been sitting on it for the better part, at least half a year at this point, and it's been eating me alive that I have to sit on something this dope and I just can't share it with anybody, not even my team, the closest people that I shared it to with. Even still, so far, this far in May, I shared it with my brother and my dad when they came to visit me in LA this past December. But since then, it's like I still haven't shared it with literally anybody, not even my team. I'm concerned with people, jacking my IP, because like I said, I did not use AI. I wrote all of this shit myself. But here, if you're listening to this, then here it is. It's finally here. So at the time that I wrote this, and even to date, right now, as of May 7th, 2025, I drive for Uber Black, Uber Luxury, regular fucking Uber X, out here in LA and Orange County and everything. Currently residing in Anaheim, but work a lot in LA, Diego, Vegas. But I believe when I actually had the inception of the idea of Thanos Skywalker, for one, I don't think it was called Thanos Skywalker. I think I was dabbling with other names, titles as well. I think I came up with like Mad Titan Anakin or something like that, and it was none of this was hitting the mark. I don't want to give y'all I don't really actually remember the original titles. I just remember this one stuck out, because obviously, at least I don't think that Thanos has a last name. Obviously, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker does, but it was just that I just kept repeating that Thanos Skywalker on Thanos, and that was gonna be the hook. That was gonna be the whole hook, And the first line of the hook was basically the song. All these bitches on me, I'd make a fine father, and it was just kind of it was just gonna be that, and then Thanos Skywalker, bitch on Thanos Skywalker, and that was gonna be it, for the hook. That was the first bar that came up. And when we do the line by line, bar by bar analysis, we'll talk about some of the other ones, the pacing, some of the lines that came at the forefront at the very beginning and some at the end. But I definitely remember, because how can you write a hook if you don't even know the title of the song, or vice versa? So while I'm coming up with the hook, I have all of these one-liners that creativity. I'm just flooded by creativity while I'm driving, while I'm working with Uber. And it was probably the better part, at least an hour. I don't think it was 2 hours while I'm still working, because I was still getting pretty decent trips while working, and I couldn't write any of this down. So I basically had to implement, if y'all are familiar with the Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, Biggie method, where, back in the day, either by choice or out of necessity, they didn't have paper and pen. Today we have phones, and we could write things, and it's easily accessible, to write. Well, I'm driving, and I have to keep a professional, environment. I'm not gonna and protect my IP. I'm not gonna say all of these ideas, in front of my passengers, even though these are brilliant ideas. I'm not gonna do all that, so I just kind of rehearsing this to myself, while I have my passengers for a good hour and a half, until I'm finally able to pull over and write hella lines, hella bars, And even still at this point, like it's the song, quote unquote song, it still hadn't even taken the form of an actual song yet at this point. It's just a whole bunch of like dope lines and one-liners. And again, when we do the bar by bar, line by line analysis, I'll tell you some of the first ones that came to mind. But it was just like a whole bunch of ideas. Didn't even, have the format for the song or the rest of the hook yet or anything. That all came days later, at least days, maybe weeks later. Like I said, I think I started writing this in like September. It could have been as early as August, but it wasn't weeks. Could have been weeks later when I actually put everything together. And I do remember when I was putting everything together. Maybe it was that date that I mentioned earlier, November 30th. But when I did that, again, I was still working Uber Black. I was at the LAX airport in the parking lot when I was putting all these things together and going back to choosing the instrumental, the beat for the song. I had to decide, which beat that I was going to use before I even put any of these lines together, because when you're writing a song, all of the pacing, the rhythm, the formatting, the chorus, the hook, everything has to be on point. Everything has to line up. You don't want anything to sound like it's off pace or off beat or anything like that. You might have to add some words, take some words out, so I was really trying to find something that a beat that matched all of these criteria for me. It had to be like kind of eerie. It had to be, like I love that Star Wars music, the dun 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 dun, like that Imperial March, I think that's what it's called. So it had to fit that aura, that type of intensity, the pacing. I want everybody to hear my bars. I was definitely looking at a lot of other beats that sounded like spacey, but they were just really too fast paced for me, for the delivery of the song. And so I ended up with this song, and I know it's like hella long. It's like nearly, if not a 6-minute song, by the time that you hear it. It's barred up, you know what I'm saying? So finally got down to it, and had like a decent layout of the song, just working that song, like I said, at the LAX airport, picking the beat and putting all the one-liners in there. And that's why, if you go and listen to some of our other music, it's like a lot of the lines and the bars will be much more cohesive, whereas this song, it's kind of like they have one-liners in there, and it kind of doesn't rhyme with anything else. Now there is a lot of cohesion, but a lot of that came like after I was putting it together. And even after that first initial, like that dedicated writing session that I said that I had at the LAX airport, there were a lot of ideas that even came like weeks, in some cases even months later after this initial writing session. Definitely the ad-libs definitely came afterwards, the ad-libs, the outro at the end. I think even like a lot of the chorus came later, and definitely towards the end of the song. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the bar by bar, line by line analysis, the double entendres, the hook. Obviously, we have to address the hook first. As I said before, at the beginning, it was just that one line, Thanos Skywalker, bitch, I'm Thanos Skywalker. With all these bitches on me, I'd make a fine father. And like, that was it. All the other parts of this hook, and even the song, like that was the first line of the song. And I just thought that part was like so funny. I was like, I gotta go ahead and make this like the first line of the song. Why not? And so obviously that line is a reflection of, Luke, I am your father. You gotta have that iconic, ad-lib in, especially at the beginning of the song, so y'all can hear where I'm coming from. The second line of the hook, you puny humans pester me, and I'm your fly swatter. Obviously that's directly influenced by Hulk, you puny humans, so I mean, I know it's not like Thanos, directly, but it's just got like that Marvel flavor to it. Now, while there are no immediate either Star Wars or Marvel comic references in the next line. I just thought this was some cold-blooded shit. Why cry over spilled milk when blood spills just like water? I just thought that was some gangsta ass shit just to say, and I thought that just fit the theme of the whole song. When I beam you up like Scotty, that ain't no flying saucer. I thought that was like the coldest line in the whole hook. That actually took me some time to think about that one. I'm pretty sure that was like the last line that I came up with. So the hook is pretty much, straightforward. And I know that that's Star Trek, not Star Wars, but I did feel like it fit the theme, of the song. Obviously, just to give y'all a little more insight there, that is a double entendre. Beam you up like Scotty, and like the flying saucer, what is it, Spock, I think is like beam me up Scotty, but also like a beam, a laser beam that you put on a gun. That's the reference there, if y'all didn't catch that one. I remember when I was writing this, I had a tough time deciding what line to start off with, so it was like hardcore Dark Lord, Star Wars, enemy clones, and Infinity Stones. I think I kind of revised that, enemy clones and Infinity Stones. That wasn't there originally. That was definitely a revision. This next line was also a revision as well. Hammers I pull could drop Thor, like hammers that you pull on a gun, but Thor's hammer, ha ha, you know what I'm saying? Peter quilts with weaker wills. It's like what Thanos said, the hardest decisions require the strongest wills, right? But Peter Quill couldn't shoot Gamora, to kill her and stop Thanos from getting the Soul Stone. Thus he hesitates like a coward. I'm inevitable, you underestimated my power. Pretty much, direct from both Thanos saying I'm inevitable and Anakin Skywalker is saying you underestimate my power. The younglings line after on episode 3 where Anakin turns to the dark side and kills the younglings. I thought that was one of like my favorite lines. Thought that was funny. Don't get force choked and punched in your Norse nose. It was actually originally Thor's nose. Don't get, or something like that. It was like you get punched in Thor's, something like that. That was the original line. Red eyes blinded. I don't think that was a complete, I think I like split the bar on that line, but that's a reflection, to the red eyes that the Sith has. That's a direct reference there. I'll make them forget about you without Jedi mind tricks. Like the Jedi mind tricks, they have they could like influence or persuade your decision-making process, but also Jedi mind tricks, the hardcore hip-hop rap group. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite rap group of all time, Jedi mind tricks. So shout out to them. I remember when I was putting these lines together, I'll make them forget about you without Jedi mind tricks, and it kind of just flowed into the next line because it was like a direct comparison, if you will, because I'll make them forget about you, but like Stark, I hope that they will remember you, reference to Thanos saying that he hopes they remember you, Stark. I'm looking at some of the lines that I took out. Final round, I had a line in here, you'll need a whiter towel, like throw the white flag, but I guess that didn't make the song. Final cut. Raining fire down, that was, when Thanos was being threatened, he said by Scarlet Witch in Endgame, said make it rain fire on entire towns till gore spills in your shields and force fields. I'm on top because I have the higher ground. Obviously that's a reference to Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars episode 3. It's over, Anakin, I have the higher ground. Right before he says you underestimate my power, I'm the higher being. While that's not like a direct reference to either of the lore in Star Wars or Marvel Comics, I did think it was reflective of the character building, but it's also the nature of my stage name, one who may ascend, the higher being. Haha, you get it? Okay. I really like these next lines coming up. Mofos must like to bleed. FOMO surprises me. Slow-mo or hyper speed. Price of life was cheap. Dolo, Han Solo. I just really like that that flow, how everything is flowing right there. I think that's a reference to a meme. I got the time today, time stone today. So I really like the incorporation of that right there. Slow mo or hyperspeed. Hyperspeed, traveling like Han Solo and them when they go into like hyperspeed or whatever in the Star Wars. Against your mightiest heroes, I try my chances dolo. Earth's mightiest heroes, that's what the Avengers are commonly referred to as. Now this next line is probably arguably like my favorite line in the whole song. One gauntlet behind my back, I call that Han Solo. I think that bar is like crazy. I think like that right there, that does it for me. I think that's the epitome of the song personally. If you have a favorite bar and that's not it, I'm definitely curious to know what your favorite line in the song is. This next line was revised quite a few times. I forget what the original line was, but I just know that it was revised. I throw hands. Oh, I think it was, I tried to fit in robo hands, because Darth Vader had his hands cut off, from Dooku as well as by Obi-Wan. It's like he just can't keep his hands, man, but I try to throw, and it also fits the rhyme structure of the song. When I throw robo hands, even Ronan has no chance. But it's like I just didn't have enough space in the pacing of the song. It would have been like offbeat. And even with only saying with what I did, I think I was still offbeat a little bit. I even hear it when I perform it and practice it live myself. The next line obviously defeated Guardians of Galaxies, the Guardians of the Galaxy. For you to beat me, you're in an alternate reality. That's reflective of Strange. All the 14 however million 601 possibilities. This was the only alternate reality that I could have been defeated in. And then I don't know if y'all catch this one or if it's too quick. Leads into the next line. It's often disappointing. That's reflective of Thanos saying reality is often disappointing, and then goes into influenced by spells such as Doctor Strange, and I really like the rhyme structure here. Influenced by spells, if Dooku and them fail to quell the defiant rebel alliance, I'll do it myself. Obviously Thanos was like, I'll do it myself. Now, this is a side note, just a personal side note. I remember that was an iconic moment. I remember skipping prom, my senior year of prom, hang out with a friend, and we went to go see the first Avengers, and it was like that, it was that moment, that movie. This is what, 2012, right? And he was like, I'll do it myself, and we were just like, oh my gosh, guess just a side note, how much a nerd I am and everything like that. But anyways, back to a regular scheduled program. I know I said, I wrote all of this myself and everything, and I had no external influences, but this next line was actually influenced by a friend of mine. We were freestyle rapping. Shout out to T-Ran, the homie back home, John Tran. I don't remember what freestyle episode it was, or if it was a line from one of his actual songs. I just got to give credit where it's due. He says something like, my aim is better than stormtroopers. There's like some stormtrooper line that he dropped while we were just, big chilling, freestyling. And I just had to incorporate that into this next line. So shout out to Tram for inspiring this next bar. I don't even remember his line. I just know it has something to do with stormtroopers and not aiming properly. So if we could find that, whether it's in like the freestyles, that we posted, our previous history and everything like that. But that's what inspired this next line. It's best to better have aim than stormtroopers if you pop your gun. And then obviously the next line after that was, otherwise you did all that just for a drop of blood. That was influenced by the Thanos line right there. Oh, you could do this all day. Obviously that's Captain America reference right there. Great, do not give up. I'm not lifting sticks. And this line required a little bit of revision. I was trying to add too many rhymes in this structure right here. Lifting sticks. I was trying to say something like "You better hit me, bitch." Didn't work out. There's some other rhyme that I was trying to add in there as well. Fortunately, Sidious does rhyme with executing Order 66. So that worked out perfectly. By the way, lifting sticks, that's a reference to guns. That's slang for guns. We often refer to sticks as guns. By the way, that reminds me of the J. Cole Dreamville collaboration with Sheck West, and who else was in there? JID. Stick. I love that song. That shit goes hard. That J. Cole joint. Dreamville. Stick. That's one of my favorites. That's definitely my playlist. So that's where I guess I started adopting that phrase when I came across that song. Truly a tragedy when Death Stars start to spray, gods start to pray. Just like they were all destroyed in Asgard and everything. Heads get it. That's one of my favorite bars too, right here. I know this definitely came later. This line in particular. Heads get ejected to galaxies far, far away. At the end credits, or the beginning credits rather of most, if not all, of the Star Wars episodes. Somewhere in a galaxy far, far away. I thought that bar was crazy. Another one of probably my second favorite line in the whole song. I don't know if y'all caught this, but in that line I said, because heads get ejected, and then the next one I say, you should have gone for mine, meaning my head. Y'all should have gone for my head, because I broke a few hearts and opened new scars. That was kind of, I guess, something of a double entendre there. Broke a few hearts. Padme, Anakin, you're breaking my heart, as well as Scarlet Witch saying you took everything from me. So broke a few hearts. The next line here is just kind of like rap wordplay or whatever, but it's still on brand, on point with the theme. There's more fire in me than Earth's closest to stars. Here's a line that I took out that I'm looking in my notes here. You'll stop in your tracks if I'm going too far. Not very relevant, so just to show again, like I wrote this shit myself, but I did have to edit a lot of things out. This was kind of like a rap bar as well, but I think it does fit the theme. So this line here stayed. Apparently there won't be any pairs in Noah's new ark. Apparently pairs, you get me? But also because Thanos was insistent on wiping out half of the universe, so that kind of does make more sense. There won't be any pairs, and then also leading into the next line, I'm the chosen one, but I don't even know who you are. These are all Thanos references, Avengers references. Few of the next lines are kind of just rap wordplay. You can't gain my respect. I'm the angel of death, strangling necks, and I came to collect. I just like the wordplay and the structure of that so much. Like I just decided to keep all of that. So far as you can't live with all your regret, you should have gone for the head. Obviously those are Thanos references. When he said you can't live with all your regret, what came to mind was you couldn't live with your failure, and where did that bring you? Back to me. That Avengers reference right there. Now this next one, I don't know if y'all got this one, because this is not technically a movie reference, but it's actually a comic book reference, Star Wars comic book reference. All I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men, like it's Dawn of the Dead. And how did I stumble upon this reference? Well, those damn YouTube shorts that I was reading, and I was like, yo, this is just a cold bar, so I'm just gonna throw that one in here. Another cold bar coming up. Your back will face the gurney if your lack of faith disturbs me. Obviously that's a Star Wars reference. Your lack of faith disturbs me, with Darth Vader. That was just kind of a one-liner, and that just goes to show, like a lot of this is like just hodgepodge together, There's no real like rhyme structure in there. I just thought it was like a cold ass bar, so I just like decided to add that in there. Now this all leading up towards the end, this next part is where we start getting towards the end. I know definitely writing this part was a little bit different. This next part, all of this structure required a few different renditions. There were some things that I wanted to add, some things that I couldn't. So this next part will be very interesting. But I knew starting out when I was writing this next part, the line that I wanted to end on at the very end, may the force be with you. So that was kind of what I was rhyming with, the whole time. And it kind of I just kind of kept stacking rhymes and other references, on top of the line that I knew that I was going to end on. And was may the force be with you. So this next line here, death's an unfaithful bitch, of course she'd kiss you. Obviously that's not necessarily reflective of the MCU Thanos, but of the traditional Thanos from the comic books, where Thanos is basically a simp for death. He's doing all these things to like please death. He wants to wipe out half the universe or kill, mass murder or whatever, to impress death, to fall in her good graces and everything. So that's what that line is reflective of. Death's an unfaithful bitch, of course she'd kiss you. They'll sorely miss you like Fantastic Four reissues. That's referring to unfortunate I guess issues of Fantastic Fours being distributed, all the movies with the Fantastic Four and everything like that. So I hope y'all got that reference. I'm looking at some of the lines that I actually took out here. This was like a Wu-Tang reference. So I took this out, because it didn't fit the theme of the song. You better protect your neck before we blitz you. I think that's before I had all of these, other references that were actually applicable to the nature of the song. You pussies ain't Black Panthers. Now Storm needs tissue. I know this is an X-Men, not a Avengers reference. Even though Black Panther is in the Avengers, but for anybody who may not be aware, Storm and Black Panther were at one time married in the comic books. So that's why I said, Storm needs tissue. I'm not mourning Gamora. Thanos is mourning Gamora. And I'm not mourning Windu. Anakin Skywalker was mourning Windu after he cut off his arm and dude got tossed into oblivion. In episode 3. Would you rather be an X-Man or be crippled? This is another top tier bar right here. Man, it's hard to decide if this is my second favorite or third favorite, but it's up there. Top tier bars. Would you rather be it? Because X-Man, as in like no longer a man, or be crippled, and also referring to, again, I know this isn't necessarily an Avengers bar, but X-Men specifically, or be crippled, referring to Professor X, who was in fact crippled. And I go a little bit further into that reference because unless you're Magneto stopping 40 missiles, and I wanted to say in midair, but didn't have enough space to do it. Before eats hits you, you better have better aim than the Mandalorians do. Reference to Star Wars there. I haven't seen the Mandalorians yet, but I hope y'all understand the reference. If I'm on your ass, may the force be with you. And that's basically how the song ends before getting into like the outro. And the outro is, don't read too much into what I'm saying, the depth of it or anything like that. It's just, I was just freestyling with it one day and just adding on to it. And I was like, hey, this is some cold shit to say. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see any conspiracy theories or bullshit or whatever like that. I've been doing this for years now, well over a decade, going on 2, so before y'all throw that Illuminati bullshit at me, I don't know what y'all do. At the time of this recording, I am not currently famous yet, but I know y'all gonna say whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, that's really what I have to say about this, the line by line, bar by bar analysis. Hope y'all enjoy it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the song's influences, some of the inspirations of writing this song, some of the stylistic inspirations and influences, and just the artists, that their contributions to the game, to hip hop, and most importantly, what I think is most important, themselves, and their fans, constituents, and their movements and everything like that. Had they not been present, or if I had not been aware of their influence, this song would either not exist or be very different. So, and I just want to give y'all a disclaimer. This is in no particular order. I'm just following, my notes here for whatever reason. One of the songs, while I may not be as familiar with the artist here, himself noted, but I definitely love this song, Super Saiyan 4, SS4 by Domo Genesis. So shout out to him. I have the song on repeat. Love the song. Fuck with, Odd Future and all of them. I've been listening to that song for well over 10 years now. I thought this song was dope. You can obviously, I think you could see the influence that it had, in creating this song. You go and listen to it for yourself, and you can see how all of the Dragon Ball Z lore and inspiration, and how he incorporated all of the references into that song helped inspire, this work here. One of my favorite artists of all time, Cannabis, 100 Bars. Love that song. That's my favorite. That's one of, I think it was the third rap song that I ever fully memorized. And it was funny. I think I saw a J. Cole interview where he was rehearsing the song back, or he said he knew that song. And I was like, yo, because even before I saw J. Cole do that, I was already on that shit, so I just thought that was really funny. Yeah, Cannabis, one of the top elite MCs, of all time. Like I said, Jedi Mind Tricks, just the hardcore delivery, the consistency of their work, Vinny Paz and Just Allah, all of their work that they do, just the over top, heavily inspired by all of their work. Going back to Cannabis here, just the complexity, the intricacy of his bars, and the space references, over the years. It's not just this song, and a lot of these artists, Jedi Mind Tricks as well, Vinny Paz and Just Allah, their inspiration, their work hasn't just influenced this song specifically, but a lot of our other work as well. Cassidy, love Cassidy's bars, delivery. Cassidy goes crazy. Just the intensity in which that he delivers. The double entendres. Bro's a beast. Is a monster. Montana 300. Again, bars, the complexity. There was one song that he had. I forget the name of the song, but it had a lot of Marvel Comics references in there as well. I think he said something I keep that metal on me like Colossus or something like that. I forget the bar, but I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. Big fan of I think Montana 300 gets a lot of credit and recognition for his bars, as he should, but I don't think he gets as much credit as he should for his style and the presentation and delivery as well. He was, if not the first person, one of the first people. I know some of his influences are Lil Wayne and DMX and Tupac, which are a lot of my influence as well, which I find really interesting. If you think about it, DMX, he has a lot of aggressive vocals, and Lil Wayne does too as well. But when you put those two together, I think of screaming on auto-tune. you know. And he has this Montana 300 has this one song, Ice Cream Truck. Love that song, you know. And that's when I first got the idea of like screaming on auto tune, you know. And I'm sure, I seriously doubt like I'm the first person to do that, you know, but at least, you know, consciously aware that I'm doing that, you know. But I think the first place that I heard it was Montana 300, you know. So I incorporate a lot of that, maybe not in this song specifically, but a lot of other songs. Obviously, like I said, some other inspirations for this song, as well as Montana 300's, Lil Wayne and DMX. DMX was more so inspiration with regards to this beat, you know. Like the beat, for me, it's got DMX written all over it. Denzel Curry, shout out to Denzel Curry. Love how he incorporates, you know, a lot of like nerd culture, you know, into his work and everything like that, but also like the aggressive nature of his delivery. Very inspired, big fan of Denzel Curry since like 2016. As a side note, he has like the craziest shows that I've been to. I remember seeing his album release party in 2018, I think it was, for Taboo in New York, when I was living there in New York right before I moved to LA. That set was crazy. There was like condensation. I think it had just rained. It was like dripping from the ceiling. I think it got caught in like the equipment, and then he had to like bust a freestyle, and I was just gassed. I was like so tired I couldn't even hang in the pit anymore. Anyways, you know, like one of the craziest sets, craziest energy. And then I saw him in LA as well. Crazy set, crazy show, super dope, bars, energy, and everything like that. This next inspiration might come as a surprise. Michael Jackson, specifically the song "They Don't Really Care About Us" and the vocals. You might notice like a lot of my inflections, and then, again, not just on this song, but a lot of other of our work are heavily inspired by Michael Jackson, believe it or not. You know, a lot of like the pitch changes. I'm looking in my notes right now. Another inspiration that I would also add with regards to delivery is Del the Funky Homo Sapien, you know, with space references, but also pitch inflections, you know. And I've dabbled with that, you know, over the course of, you know, years now, for years, you know. So shout out to Del the Funky Homo Sapien, Deltron, 3030, Michael Jackson, a few more probably unexpected inspirations that are worthy of mention here. Lil Jon, and again, not just this song, you know, but a lot of other songs. Like, I love Lil Jon's, for one, the length of his songs. You know, it reminds me of like old school shit, you know, before the streaming era. Yeah, you know, when people would actually listen to the song because they actually like fucking enjoyed it, and you know, you didn't have all these DJ switch-a-lots, you know, where you just like switch the song after song, you know, but you actually like fucking enjoyed the song, you know. Like, I like all of like the long songs, like the long hooks. Like, if I'm an artist, I'm creating this for an expression of my soul, you know, not necessarily for commercial viability, you know, even though obviously everybody wants to be successful and to be known for what they do, you know. You know, they might not go hand in hand necessarily, you know, so fuck it. So I love the length of Lil Jon's songs, but also his vocals, his energy, the delivery. You know, I would love to hear Lil Jon on some metal shit, you know, some screaming shit. I think that shit would be crazy. You know, do like a metal remix of a Lil Jon song. What? Okay. You know, I think that shit would go crazy. 21 Savage, just like the cold-blooded nature of his delivery, you know. I still bump like Savage Mode, both 1 and 2. Without Warning, Gunplay, love the nature of Gunplay's deliveries, the double entendres, everything like that. Even Roddy Ricch is in here for a lot of the ad libs. Reminds me of like the box, and even Rihanna. My team always laughs when I say, Rihanna has significantly influenced me, again, not just this song, but as an artist on many other songs, with her inflections. I'm a pretty, it's hard to say I'm like the biggest fan, but because I don't even listen to like singing like that. Like I mostly listen to like rap, metal, EDM, but of all the singers, I probably listen to Rihanna like the most. Like I actually have a playlist dedicated to Rihanna songs that I listen to. And then two of my other songs as well also significantly influenced this one. May or may not be worth checking out. The first one is called The One. I used this. This was a song that I did. It was basically detailing the storyline of the original Matrix movie. And I did this over the beat, the Club to Death beat, the Matrix beat. And I did that this years ago, probably like 8 years ago or so. So like the quality of it's an all right song, especially with like bars and everything like that. But I'm just not too keen on the quality of the recording of it. I recorded it myself, basically like in a closet, and I just kind of like did what I could, threw the song together. May or may not be due for a re-recording. But there's also another song with a lot of comic book references that I did called Heroes and Villains from Humble Beginnings. That might be worth checking out if you can find it. If not, I think it should still be available on my SoundCloud page. Maybe you'll be able to find it on Bandcamp or something like that, or maybe we'll even share it for you. Now, so far as the prospective recording of the song, like I said, today is Wednesday, May 7th. I've still yet to record this song, even despite its inception last year, whether this was September or November or whenever it was in 2020. But the date that we're looking for, we're expecting to record it with Mike, DJ Mikey of Metropolis Studios in Corpus Christi, Texas on Sunday, June 1st. The plan is also to have Anna Vibes. Some of y'all know Anna from our previous work, to get her to shoot the behind the scenes, the footage of me actually recording the song. So Anna, she's not here in LA anymore. She actually moved to Texas, where I'm from. And so she's in San Antonio. Not Santa Ana, I was about to say Santa Ana, where she's actually from. But she's in San Antonio. See, the idea is to pick her up from San Antonio, leave from Dallas in the morning of that day, pick her up, Anna up in San Antonio, and then go and record the song actually on June 1st and do all of this in one day, as well as record another song, Wink Wink, the remix, to this one, which I'm actually probably gonna record the behind the lyrics to that song as well, right after recording this one. So that's at least the plan as of now. We'll keep you posted with updates and that sort of thing. We are planning to have creatives, AMVs of the song distributed. The idea, at least at this point, like I said, I still haven't, because I haven't recorded it, I haven't shared this actual song to the team, so they can't actually create any creatives until the song is recorded. So the idea is to make something of a contest for the graphic art design for whoever wins. I have 3 team members right now. Everybody does graphics, but 2 of which are actually animators, and that's Maria and Adrian right now. We'll have to decide, whether they're going to be working on the AMV together or separately. They may or may not have their own creatives AMV, or they might, work on it together, as well as Rowena. But what I, at least ideally at the moment, is to get everybody to design their own cover art for the song, and then take elements, whether we like some things of one person's work and some things of another, or just combine it all together, but basically make a contest out of it, so at least as of now, that's the idea here so far as producing the graphic cover art design and the AMVs for the song. Prospective plans for promotion. As of right now, we are planning to post the song in Facebook groups. Obviously with, it has to have some type of relevancy there, whether they're related to like comic books and Marvel and Star Wars lore or movies, that sort of thing. Maybe even like Reddit groups, subreddits, playlisting, talk to influencers. But also, what I would love to do, and if anybody has a plug to Complexion of the Future Beats Show. I love the Future Beats Show. I was literally just listening to it today. I listen to it while I work, driving Uber. I've been listening to the Future Beats Show consistently for at least the past 2 or 3 years now. I'd say since 2022. The first episode of the Future Beats Show I ever listened to was episode 098. I came across it, I think it was in like 2016. And I had only been listening to that one episode. I didn't really think of checking, other episodes or anything like that until, I said, hey, why, if this is episode 98, let me see what other episodes they have, So like now I think they're on like episodes, it's up there. It's like, if it's not like 340, it's up there. But I would love if anybody, followers or anybody could plug us in with DJ Complexion of the Future Beats Show. I would love to feature this song, Thanos Skywalker, on the Future Beats Show. That would totally be a dream come true. I've been an artist for a long time. I've never had anything that I considered, one, worthy, or two, I know this is still kind of like aggressive for the type of music that they play on the Future Beats Show, but I think it totally fits the theme, at least with regards to like outer space, that kind of thing. And I know Complexion, based on he'd be talking his head off on the episodes about how he's a fan of Marvel comics and Star Wars and everything like that. So at the very least, I would love for DJ Complexion to actually like just listen to the song, even if you don't feature it on the show. I would just love to hear your feedback, and just for at least like for us to know each other. I think that would be dope. But regardless, I love what you do with the show, man. A big fan. I've listened to like literally all of the episodes that are at least public to date on SoundCloud of the Future Beats Show. I'd be surprised actually if I'm not like one of your top listeners on SoundCloud. You got to go ahead and check and verify that for me, whether I'm not you're one of your top listeners on SoundCloud. But yeah, like I said, I listen to the Future Beats Show, literally no exaggeration, like multiple times a day. I share it, with probably everybody that I know that listens to music like that. It's at this point, like it's a significant part of my daily routine, my daily regimen. I listen to it almost as soon as I wake up, after I brush my teeth, wash my face. I listen to it while I stretch before I go to the gym, and then at work, so would love that would be like a dream come true to be featured on the Future Beats Show, or at least to check out the song, but anyways, shout out to Complexion, and check out the Future Beats Show if you haven't already. Super dope. But yeah, like I said, this has been the Behind the Lyrics to Thanos Skywalker. Hope you enjoy the song. Hope you enjoy this Behind the Lyrics production. The animation. I'm sure we have Maria and possibly maybe Adrian working on this together. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come, as always. Got it. Y'all think this shit is crazy? Just wait till we drop the remix, all right? Thanos Skywalker remix. I don't want to drop too many hints or anything like that, but it's already written, and we're likely to record the remix at the same time we do this song. you know, because I already know this is going to be a slapper. Um, Let me know if you have any questions, anything that I could clarify, anything that I could do for you for future reference. But other than that, I appreciate you all. Do what you do, whatever you do you. After all, is what you do best. We're going all the way up. Eyes to the sky. Peace, y'all. Stay up. I'm OMA, one who may ascend. Over and out. Yo, what's good, y'all? I am OMA, one who may ascend, console trap metal recording artist. Here in our YouTube channel, you can expect exclusive content, whether it's vlogs, music, freestyles, behind the scenes. You never know what you're going to expect, so make sure you hit your post notifications, like, comment, subscribe, share it with somebody else who might find it valuable as well. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. We're going all the way up. Eyes to the sky.